What's Good podcast.
Are you ready?
Your number one source.
To all the keys in the industry.
With Brianna Javon.
It's the What's Good podcast.
What's good? Hey everyone, this is your girl Brianna Javon with What's Good podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode. As you guys know, I don't do interviews, but instead I do genuine conversations with you guys and gals, so let's get into it. Today we have a special guest today with me. His name is Dr. Enqi saying real. How are you today?
Awesome, amazing.
That's good to hear. And for one, I want to thank you so much for coming onto the platform. And so usually how I get started with the podcast, I usually do an icebreaker just to calm the mood, just for me to get to know you a little bit more about your answer, okay?
Yeah, fire away.
Okay, so I noticed that you are a YouTuber. I mean, you have a lot of videos, you teach, and so I thought this would be a great question to ask you. Would you rather never use social media sites and apps again, or never watch another movie or television show?
Okay, hold on. I gotta read. Wait a minute. What's this one again?
Okay, so the icebreaker is, would you rather never use social media sites and apps again, or would you rather never watch another movie or television show? Like no more Martin, no more old school TV shows, no more new school, like Power, none of that, because you just want to use social media.
Crazy. That's getting crazy. Talking about no more Power.
I know, right? I thought that was a good example because everybody likes Power.
I don't know. I guess if I was trapped in a world where I would have to make that decision, I would have to give up. I mean, sticking to the law, sticking to the question exactly the way you asked it,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it would probably be easy to just go with the never watching the TV again, because everything is available via apps anyway. So I could watch all the shows that I want to watch on the on computer somewhere on the internet.
Smart answer. That's what my answer would have been too. When I was looking, I was like, I wonder if somebody would have the same answer as me. Because that's what I would have thought too. So that's good. All right. And so now we're going to move into the genuine conversation. For one, let's just start off with you telling me about yourself and what do you do?
Okay. I'm a father, a dad, personal trainer, sports nutritionist, master herbalist, naturopathic doctor, community advocate, I would say, and that's pretty much it. My passion is just to promote biochemical literacy, if you will, and that's kind of what I try to use all my platforms and all of my energy on, is just to get people to get a much more in-depth knowledge of who they are, who knowledge of self, so to speak.
Got it. Okay. And so I read an article about you on the Rolling Out platform, and they mentioned how you got started with the study of health and things of that nature, and it was due to a seizure. And so from there, how did that particular moment in life when you had your seizure change your life from there?
That was a weird thing, because most people that have seizures, they have a condition like where they have seizures, so they know that they possible to have seizures. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sporadic, like it was just a once in a lifetime, like it was a once in a lifetime thing that never happened before or never happened. It hasn't happened since, and it scared me because my heart stopped.
Wow.
So in the days following, it was really a introspective thing really just self-examination, going into myself and really reevaluating a lot of things, and that kind of pushed me over the edge to apply all of the various studies that I had throughout my life to really rehabilitate myself, and then take stock of what we had going on as a people around, and just think about why I was spared. Like a lot of people whose heart stopped, they don't get a second chance. They don't come back. So it really altered the way I saw the world and saw myself in the world. And I had to get busy in terms of just working as hard as I could to reverse some of the negative karma that I had created throughout my teenage years and early 20s, and just change what I was passing down to my children. A lot of times we think about money in terms of leaving for our children in regard to inheritance, but we don't think about our name. I was doing another show, and I was talking about changing the model of success. A lot of times we use money and material to gauge success, but in that paradigm, what we do is overlooked. So if a woman is a high-priced prostitute and she amasses a lot of money, and then she writes a tell-all book, and now she changes her lifestyle and she buys like a nail salon and a t-shirt business, she gets to call herself a successful entrepreneur. You have guys that have sold heroin for 10, 15 years and made a few millions of dollars selling heroin, and now they open up a record label and a laundromat, and they get to call themselves a successful entrepreneur. And that creates the wrong dynamic in terms of what success really is. And so even though people create aspirations for themselves, you still, it's a very very small and selfish way to view the world when we pass that on to our children, because your name is still tarnished. Your name is still tarnished, and overall you still have done probably more damage than good. So you're passing that karma on to the children, so that's a part of your legacy and the inheritance that you leave for them that I think we need to focus on more, and just work on our people relations as well. If we change the view of success, how we deal with people becomes a lot more important. So just a lot of things. It was a very profound experience, to say the least.
I like it.
But I'll be honest, Dying is definitely not a movie I want to see again. It was a good movie to watch. It was
right.
Cool. It was a profound experience.
One-time experience, right? One-time experience, that's all you need. All right. And so I know you mentioned that there was a lot of different changes that you had to do due to having that seizure. What are some of the lifestyle changes that you endured after having your seizure? And when it comes to, like you mentioned some things with your children, how you reevaluated life. What are some examples that you could give for some of those lifestyle changes?
I stopped drinking. I didn't drink for years after that.
Were you a drinker before? Like a real social drinker?
I wasn't like a everyday, I wasn't like a functioning alcoholic.
Okay.
But I did go to clubs and party, and I'm from 158th Street in the Bronx, so that's kind of what it was. Like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you lit. You know what I mean? And
right.
I cut that out like completely. The thing that really scared me is that, like I said, it wasn't something that was there was no history, there was no able to predict that, and I was moving from New York to Georgia. So the night before, my neighborhood wanted to send me off, quote unquote, properly. So, I was bent out of shape, to say the least, by the time I got home. So there were rumors after the situation that somebody had slipped something in my drink and tried to take me out of here.
Oh, wow.
And so I couldn't really we couldn't prove it conclusively. But the person had some other similar things that, so it was cool. It was up in the air. But I just took it all into consideration, like, okay, well, if that's what happened, that person would have never been able to do that had I not been drinking.
Oh, I
had
see.
I been fully alert.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that didn't happen, then I have nothing to blame it on but the liquor. So I just looked at it like either way, you know what I mean? And I never really been like a super heavy drinker like that, anyway. So it wasn't that big of a deal. Now, the rest of it was more so getting my body back, because like my arms had come out of the socket and my legs and everything was different. So my body wasn't the same after I came back. You know what I mean? So the whole situation happened rather quickly, but I wasn't back to 100% for almost maybe a year afterward. So I went straight back to nature, like 100% raw, not just vegan, like raw. Like I literally wanted like dirt to be on the vegetables. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to know that these came out of the soil like 20 minutes ago. Like, yeah. And then, you just outside of that, every situation becomes a little bit more precious.
Mm-hmm.
Even the colors in the air get brighter. Like your perception changes when you're on borrowed time. Like, you could have been out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So even just something as simple as, coloring with the children, or, just going into their room with them and making a mess with the toys, or going and tearing up the backyard, or just, some stuff that kind of sometimes due to lifestyle, parents is just, you're just like, hey, go in your room, do your homework and whatever. Doing the homework with them, just small little changes, or spending more time with your wife, baby mom's girlfriend, like, just becoming more appreciative.
That's good.
More appreciative and more patient, because you happy you here, so everything gets a shift, and then with the shift in personal life, you kind of put more intensity on things in your professional or business pursuits, because you kind of like, and even till today, people have to calm me down, because I could be a little bit much sometimes. Like, yo, come on, we're supposed to do this right now. Like, where you at? Like, let's get this done. You didn't do it. Oh my God. Yo, why would you say you was going to do this at Sunday at 3 o'clock and you wasn't going to be ready at Sunday at 3 o'clock? You could have just told me you was going to be like. So I sometimes I get a little manic, but it's because when you have that experience, like some people, from the military or from the hood, they've been in near-death experiences, and they like, yo, nah, you're different. But near-death is not even the same as death. Like,
right.
Bro,
yeah, you mentioned your heart stopped.
Yeah, so it's you just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
You're just a little bit different. So a lot of times I got to calm myself down, or I teach, health all over, everywhere. But it's very easy for me to not take care of me and forget about it, because of how pressed I am to live. Like, I want to work and get as much work done as humanly possible. And then after the work is finished, like, I want to work at least 20 hours out of the day. And then I want to play and hang out with my children at least another 15 hours out of the day. And so the problem comes in where you have a 35-hour schedule in a 24-hour day that doesn't include sleep.
Yeah, because it sounds like the way you're speaking is that now you appreciate time way more now than before not near death, the death experience that you had. And I feel like that's what some people, miss out. Like, we got all the time in the world. But I feel like talking to you right now, like, time is very precious. You have to make sure
Right.
that 35 hour schedule has to be fit in a 24-hour schedule.
Right. And I got to find a few more hours for sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like in the Bible. And right now we've been having a lot of these God versus science types of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was like, "Oh, so you're saying that?" I forgot what was the question. It was related to time and space versus the creation of man, or whatever the case may be. But what I was saying was that time and space, in essence, didn't exist until there was consciousness to perceive them.
Mm.
So, you don't really have an unlimited window here, because even if you're just thinking about how long you're going to be alive, there's no guarantee on how long you're going to be alive, and there's even less of a guarantee on how you're going to be living or what condition your body will be in.
Mm-hmm.
So, you never know how long you're going to be able to play basketball with your son. You never know how long you're going to be able to run behind your daughter and try to teach her how to ride a bike or whatever the case may be. So you want to knock those out, get those experiences in, and begin to do whatever you can do while you can.
That's really good. Okay. And so with the beginning, as far as your searchings, you mentioned before, you dibble and dabble in a little bit of everything as far as biochemistry and etc. How did you begin to start the studying as far as the practice of healing? Did you start picking up books? Did you go back to school? Did you take courses, internet research? How did you start as far as the beginning of your searchings in the practice of healing?
All of the above.
Okay.
As a child, so first things first, when I was born, like soon as I slid down my mom's birth canal, my dad, uncles, cousins, brothers, like all of the older men in my life was like pushing advanced kind of, information on me, whether it was Nation of Islam or biblical Quran, like it was just, so, but outside of that, as a child, my thing, I was into like card tricks, making stuff disappear and all of that kind of stuff. And that kind of just grew into like science experiments and playing with stuff. And from there, I didn't really like science in school, but I loved science at home. I wanted to play with stuff and mix stuff and see what stuff I could mix from the kitchen, under the kitchen cabinet, to make stuff smoke and smell bad. And, like what if I could, I don't know. I just did a whole bunch of experiments. You know what I'm saying? Some I got, some weren't necessarily the best of experiments. So me and my little sister Michelle, we got in trouble for a couple of things. But that my love of science was just a love of science. It wasn't necessarily healing. So that wasn't the bag I was in first. Really just love of science, and then and it was the textbook way. So it wasn't like Dr. Africa and Sabi and all of that kind of stuff. It was just textbook science and just learning how things really worked at their most innermost intimate level. Later on, I got exposed to holistic health, and it was just it was really like a layup because I had so many years of studying the body and biochemistry. Everything made sense to me on a level that most people, even the people that were teaching me, I understood what they were teaching me more than they did. Because my initial studies, people would be like, oh, you know, kind of like now, you know what I'm saying? And it's like a pet peeve of mine now, but so I guess I probably should take it more easy on those people, because I guess the entry level information is what allows people to get in on the entry level and then advance their study. But just hearing stuff like, sarsaparilla is good for this, or, dandelion or whatever. And I realized quickly that the people that were saying these things about herbs, like you go to little herbal shops and you buy in herbs and you ask them about an herb, and they'll be like, oh yeah, this one will clean you out, or this one is good for your brain, or this one is good for that. I realized very quickly that those people didn't understand the biochemistry of plants, nor did they know the biochemistry of people. They were simply repeating what people had told them and then what they may have observed from using them. But the way my mind functions, I can't sleep like that. Like, it's literally like almost like just like it's a gift and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
I literally cannot sleep like that. Like, I have to know how something works. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to know. Like, if I see a herb, like I just won't stop. It's relentless. So when it comes to anywhere I go, I develop within a matter of weeks a huge book collection. So I stay in books, but also like I'm not against video. Like, you hear a lot of guys say, "Oh, you're doing Google research." All of the guys that even use that terminology are idiots.
Oh, wow.
We have at our disposal every single encyclopedia on earth at a click. You would be an idiot not to use the internet. Like, you literally have every library on earth right at your search bar. Bam. Now, to limit yourself to the internet, I think will probably be a disservice. I don't believe in that. But using it as a search and reference tool, definitely. And then later on, I would be lucky enough to meet some people that were really, really sophisticated in regards to healing, and be able to take what I knew to a whole nother level. Shout out Mama Pill and the family. But yeah, so it's been an accumulation of trial and error and work, and then life forcing me to apply some of the things I know, like when my heart stopped, to be able to rehabilitate myself.
Mm-hmm.
Then years later, my daughter got hit by a car. Her neck was broken, spine was broken. That was a real tough spot.
Oh, wow.
And that, just situations like that. Even maybe a year or so, like maybe a year and change ago, my daughter Aubrey, everybody loves Aubrey online.
Mm-hmm.
She's a twin. Her sister Kylie was chasing her through the house, and she fell down and broke her 2 front teeth.
Mm.
Yeah, so we go to the. It wasn't that her 2 front teeth were broke; it was the connections in the gums were broken.
Oh.
Yeah,
oh, baby.
It was wicked. So we go to the emergency dentist, and he sends us to another dentist. So we go to that dentist, and they basically like, look, we can pull them out. She's a baby. She's 4. These are not her adult teeth, so don't worry about it. We can pull them out. She'll get another set. It'll be no problem. And I was like, I'm cool.
Right. For her to go through that at such a young age.
Right. I'm like, I got that little ignorant streak helps me out. It's just not belligerent, because I don't mind doing the work
Mm-hmm.
to get the results that I'm looking for. Like, a lot of people, which is dangerous, and that's why I always tell people, go to the doctor, go to the hospital. I'm not one of those people that try to take that away from people, because I know for 99.9% of the people it's dangerous, because they don't have the information or the discipline to really go hard with the holistic approach to a lot of scenarios. But
and
I took her home.
To interject, And with the doctor situation, I hear a lot of recommendations. You want to hear more than one doctor's advice. Is it best to just go home and search? Like you mentioned, you told that doctor, no, I'm not with it. Is it a situation where you sometimes have to take a step back and do your own research, or you may want to take multiple advices as far as like people that are in that particular industry or specialists before you make a decision?
Well, for me, I think no matter who you are, the more information you get on the situation, the better. That's why I always promote literacy on everything, especially everybody. I think information is always the key. You always want more perspective. But then there's a point where you have to take action, right? Especially if you're dealing with a health issue, because not in every case, but in some cases, the longer you wait to begin taking action, the worse it can get. So, but I did, kind of what I did for her sister years back. I just took her home and just daddy time, and I put the formula together. We now it's on a website. It's called Calcium or something like that, I think it is. And I just started giving her the herbs every day, and I think we had another appointment, a comeback appointment set up for it was maybe like 4 or 5 weeks. And we went back, and they was like, "Oh my God, this is a miracle!" Her teeth,
That's beautiful.
The bone has grown back in. And I'm looking at her. I'm just shaking my head like, yeah, but in my mind, I'm like, no, it ain't no damn miracle. This is work.
He said this is work.
Yeah, because children don't necessarily like herbs all day. You know what I'm saying? But,
right.
But I had to give her that, and then I got to make her special food every time because her teeth were soft. So anything that she would try to eat would automatically start the teeth to hurt and all of that kind of stuff. So it was work for me. You know what I'm saying? And it's me alone with the children. It's not like me and their mom or me and another woman trying to, what I'm saying? It's me. So I got to cook for everybody and then deal with her plate. And then she's mad because she's she's greedy. You know what I'm saying? So she's,
yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like she's like, Dad, I want to grow up and be a cooker, right? Before she knew that she meant chef. Now she's like, I want to grow up and be a chef. But back then she's like, I want to grow up and be a cooker. You know what I'm saying? So she was all about food anyway. So to see everybody else eat like full plate and she's got some soft whatever, she's like, nah, this is not the plan. So it was tough to get through those couple of weeks and stay disciplined with the food and the herbs and all of that. But she has her smile. You know what I'm saying? So that was important to me. She has her smile. If I would have went with what the orthodontist was saying, she would have probably been able to enjoy her food for an extra couple of weeks. But till she's like 10 years old, she wouldn't be able to smile and take pictures and feel pretty.
That's
so that to me was more important than. Sometimes it's tough as a parent because you're faced with a situation where it's a small period of time of being uncomfortable versus a really long period of time of comfort, or do you cave in and just try to create the comfort, but it's going to be a much longer period of uncomfortableness. Like when Amber, my older daughter, when she got hit by the car, me and her mom was arguing a lot because I was like totally against all of the doctor recommended stuff. And, I did a lot of rehab in the house with her, and they was like, no, like they were just like everybody, all of the professionals, her mom, like everybody was like, no, everything that I was doing. Like everybody was just like, no, you're not supposed to do that. You can't do that. That is inappropriate. You're hurting her. It's uncomfortable. Right?
Right.
7 8 months later, she's back in school. You know what I'm saying? Now she's on dance teams and baseball teams, etc. When they said she would never even walk again.
Wow.
So in my mind, it's like, yeah, what I was doing was probably a lot more uncomfortable than what they recommended. However, she has her life back.
And that's what counts. Yeah.
Run around and whatever. She's lit. So it was a few months worth of, like kind of hell a little bit, like a light version of hell, like purgatory. You know what I'm saying? But now she's lit. You know what I mean? And so sometimes it's tough as a parent in all situations. You know what I mean?
And so how do you balance that? Because, I mean, you have your searchings that you do, your research and things, you teach, and then you have your family. How are you balancing that? Because, like you mentioned, you had to spend quite a while to help your daughters as far as in rehab, getting them back to where they were before those accidents happened in their lives. How do you balance all of that together? Or even if there is a balance?
Priority. Shifting priority. You know what I mean? So the first priority is just them. You know what I mean? And then everything falls into place behind that. And so that's just pretty much it. Shifting priority. I'm not on the priority. Like, I'm not high up on the priority thing. So a lot of times I think that's an issue with parents. Like, they I don't know. It's a complicated conversation because I think that it goes back to, because a lot of times parents will have children, but they're not ready to turn their life over to the children yet. And I don't mean turn over like let the children run the household. I just mean shift priorities, like live for the children.
Okay.
And I think that's a byproduct of unplanned children. Like most of the adults, most of the adults in the world were not planned. Right.
That's true.
We kind of just start, you find somebody you like, you start doing it, who knows how long before you're doing it with no protection. And then boom, at some point, hey, babe, I'm pregnant. What you want to do? I don't know what you want to do. Let's keep it. And then bam, there's another human in the world. So in that paradigm, sometimes people weren't really ready to give up some chunk of their life, some time, and really, reprioritize. Me, on the other hand, my dad had a bunch of children, and so as a child, I always wanted to, that was always my dream. So that's why I feel like a millionaire already, even though I'm nowhere near it. I already feel rich and wealthy and successful because I've hit my goal.
Nice.
So my goal was always to just have enough money to just be with my children like every day, all day, like not have to work or leave the house, and I just wanted to be at the house with them and just annoy the hell out of them like all day. You know what I'm saying? So what I do makes that a reality for me. So that's another. So not only did I love science as a passion and a hobby anyway, but now being that my hobby, my love, my passion has been able to afford me the type of lifestyle that I wanted, it just makes more sense for me. So that's another piece to it. Like, and I have to credit myself with some portion of messing up the holistic healers coming along, because when people see me, they see the jewelry and the gold teeth, and they see, how I wear my clothes and just where I'm from. A lot of times people take that to think that there's a shortcut to do what I do. So early on, healing myself. When my daughter got hit by the car, I didn't have any certifications then. I wasn't a doctor. I didn't have any certification. There was no schooling on it except for what I taught myself.
Right.
But from my dad, he taught me about, he schooled me to, just gave me a different way of view a lot of things. So a lot of the books that I would read, that I have in my library, are actually college textbooks.
Oh,
okay. So I was homeschooling myself, a lot of the time, because he was like, you pay a lot of money to go to college, but you're really only paying for the piece of paper so that you can present to businesses that want to hire you. Like, you're paying to get jobs, places to get the credential.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're just looking for the education is separate, right? So when people go, maybe I should have started that way.
Mm-hmm.
When people go to college, it's two separate things. You're paying for education, and then you're also paying for credential.
Mm.
Credential is what costs much more. It's like everything else in our society. We pay for the name brand, right? So if you go to Payless, you can get a pair of sneakers made out of the same material, same sole, same stitching as Nike. The Nike might cost you $90. The Payless shoe might cost you $15.
Paying for the
right?
brand.
But because you're paying for the logo.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me that you can go get the education without the credential by simply going to the college campuses and buying used books. So
that's smart.
So a lot of my early education, in terms of health and biochemistry, was just me going to used college bookstores and just buying the books there. You know, even some colleges, they didn't allow people that didn't have student ID. So I would just send people I know in there, like, yo, go get me this. Here's this. Take this little $400. Fine, go get me these 2 books. You know, because college textbooks be expensive.
$400 for a book? Jeez. That's car note.
Yeah. So, but later on, there were places, and it's not the grass. It was grass is greener syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't realize how affected we are by haters, quote unquote. Right.
Yes.
And so, your haters will tell you that you're not qualified enough to do what it is that you do. But the people that support you, they're not gonna flinch. So, but listening to the haters, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, let me go get this certification. Oh, let me go get that certification. Oh, let me go get this certification.
Mm-hmm.
Then even collecting all the certifications, people are still like, oh, but you're not a doctor though, right? And I heard that so many times. I just like to slap people in the face. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, you know what? Let me go get me an ND. I don't need to be an MD. I'll get an ND and I'll be a naturopathic doctor. So I spent all the money to go. Like, it's just a bunch of money you spending and time to get these certifications. And then once you get them, you realize it's like, yo, I'm doing the same business that I was doing.
Just credentials.
Paper.
Mm-hmm.
I just spent a whole bunch of money on credentials that haven't opened any doors or got me anywhere that I wouldn't be anyway without those credentials. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the credentials are cool to have, I guess, to show your children. Like, it's cool for that for me. You know what I mean? To show my babies, like, look, no, daddy's a real doctor. Like, you know, you can do this your own way. And I had the privilege to go to like a black-owned school and all that kind of stuff. So it's some real cool stuff attached to it. But in terms of business, it doesn't really. We live in an information age. So to be honest, what's the most important thing in any business? It doesn't matter if you're an athlete or you're a plumber. Like, it really just comes down to, do you know what you're talking about?
True.
You know, can you demonstrate that you really know what it is that you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Period. Because for the people that matter, they're always going to have they're going to have some degree of knowledge in whatever it is that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And those people will be able to pick up within the first 30 seconds of what you're talking about, if you are really qualified, or if you really know, you know, if you really put your time in to that field, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the credentials, you know, it's you know, we just gotta get a little focused, you know what I mean, and, you know, figure some stuff out. But
okay,
if your heart's in the right place, it'll take you where you want to go.
Okay. And so with that being stated, I've seen the title associated with you, herbalist, living biochemist. I want to talk about those terms and what do they mean, because now you see that a lot. You know, I'm an herbalist. I can help you with this. I can help you with that. But what is the term for living biochemist and also being an herbalist?
Okay, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Good question. All right. What do we want to start with? All right, so let me give you the rundown on the herbalist now. The rundown on the herbalist in today's world, 2020,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
In 2020, from my personal experience, 95% of the people calling themselves herbalists are people that have watched a few videos on YouTube and now they think they're deep.
Now that's deep.
Yeah, so you ask them, hey, I want to cleanse my liver. And they're like, oh, well, a proper herb to cleanse your liver is milk thistle. You may want to mix a little milk thistle with some turmeric, and that's going to be a great compound to cleanse the liver and start the putrefaction process and get you a real good cleansing and restore the liver function. And when people hear that, they like, man, all right, this brother's sharp. And then they go home and they look up milk thistle and turmeric, and they like, yeah, man, these do work to help out the liver. Man, that brother was sharp.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really an herbalist, and when I went to school to be a certified master herbalist, you learn the categories of herbs. Like you there's just so much more that you learn about herbs. And then our teacher would not allow us to just study the herbs. We needed to know the soil and the conditions. I mean, not to the extent like it was agriculture class, but like we had to learn a lot more about the plants. We had to learn about the roots and the relationship of the roots to the fungus and the soil, and how the symbiotic relationship of the stuff in the fungus and the microorganisms help the plants to break down minerals and stuff and make it bioavailable. And so there's a whole nother level to actually going to school to study herbs than just watching a few videos. But in terms of living biochemist, now that was a curriculum that I put together all by myself, living biochemistry.
Okay.
Because even with biochemistry as it's taught in the Western academia, it's boring. It's boring. It puts people to sleep. You know what I'm saying? It's just like dead. It's just chemical jargon. So I wanted to create a situation where people could study it and have the passion to study it like I did at home. And the reason it was so fun for me and still continues to be so fun for me is because all science I study with like a human-centric point of view. I don't even know if that term exists. We might have just coined that right now. But it's always something in relation to me and how my body functions, and so that was within that paradigm, I was able to make some really complex subjects fun for people. And we put together we did about 2.5-year curriculum. I haven't made it like public. I don't know exactly what I want to do with it since then, but it's led to my probably best-selling book so far, which is Eat Right for Your Haplotype, because studying biochemistry from a me-centric point of view, the first thing you come across is you realize that everybody has a unique biochemistry.
Okay.
Like even identical twins, from the first time that they start to take, from the first breath they take, their insides start to become different. Then as they start to eat different things. If they both on the breast, they're still having some similarity. But the first time that one of them has, and it's just for example, but for the first time one of them has a pancake for breakfast and the other one has, like 2 oranges and an apple, everything is different. You know what I'm saying? So enzymes will be different. Their microorganisms will be different. And your enzymes and microorganism population largely controls your biochemistry to some degree. So everybody's got a unique biochemistry. And then and that's talking about twins. When you move outside of that and you start to see that we have different bloodlines and haplotypes that populate the planet, there are some pretty big differences between the different races of people. With the biggest contrast being between, like European people and I guess African, if that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never seen white folks or European people get crazy with each other about what they're called. But with black folks, I mean, you say Africans and be like, I'm not African, I'm melanated.
Yep.
Like, hold up, I'm not melanated, I'm a Moor. Be like, hold on, I'm Haitian Jamaican. So, it's always crazy when calling us a one name, trying to put us under one umbrella. Like, we don't even want to be unified, even in theory.
It's terrible, but I so get exactly what you're saying. That's so crazy to me. It's like colorism is more so in the Black African American community than any other community as far as cultures. It's like, why do we have to separate ourselves? I so get what you're saying. It's crazy.
We definitely get crazy, but the most pronounced differences are definitely between melanated African people and Europeans. And so those differences play a key role in illness. So when you speak to the general public, it's an emotional thing. But in the science world, it's not, because they run tests that way. All of the tests are done when they create statistics. They're done based on your biochemistry, because they understand, like scientists, they understand that this is just, it's not, this is just what it is. You know what I'm saying? You have to study black people to understand black people. You have to study white people to understand white people. You have to study Mexicans to understand Mexicans, because everybody's going to be different.
Right.
And different bloodline, you have different enzyme sets, like I said. It's just a variety of differences. Like, we would have to do a whole show on it to just cover all the differences. But respiratory rates, neurochemistry, metabolism, anabolic hormone production, like just literally everything. The respiratory proteins in the mitochondria are different. So everything is different. So there's no cookie cutter. That's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have with health. Like, it's just like, okay, if everyone does this, then everyone will be healthy. No, because everyone's different. So everything's going to affect everybody differently, whether you're talking about pharmaceutical drugs or herbs. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Everybody's body's different, so we're going to receive stuff differently. So you got to take your studies in multiple levels. Like, there's one thing you study in general, but then you got to treat yourself like you are your own lab rat. So you can study and learn some stuff, but then also you got to see how those things apply to you and sleep patterns and circadian rhythms and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. And I know you mentioned earlier about your books. You've explained before that you want to, make sure you're transparent about everything, and you go more in depth than any other books or any other teachings that people have put out there. Because let's be honest, some people keep knowledge and resources to themselves. But you have mentioned that you're all about transparency. Why is it so important for you to be so transparent and in depth about, the different illnesses that we face today in the healing process?
My idea of what success is.
Okay.
So if your idea of success, like I was saying earlier, this is a great example. If your idea of success, and you're a healer, say for instance, you have 2 healers, right, of equal prowess, equal talent, equal potential. They know just about the same stuff. But one guy's idea of success is getting, like extremely rich. but so he's gonna pretty much try to keep every slickness, every workaround, every like every nuance of healing to himself, so that he can monetize every little detail and facet of what it is he's doing, because that's what success is for him. For me, what success means for me in terms of healing is being able to change the paradigm. So being able to put a dent in metabolic illness, where people can say, okay, this book right here, Eat Right for Your Haplotype, literally put a dent in metabolic illness. Like, there's literally X amount of people, X hundreds of thousands of people whose lives were saved, changed, turned around because of this, because of this impact that he was able to make. So that's my idea of success. It's not necessarily a certain monetary. So that perception is what would, shift. So this is why we've had so many people that just haven't detailed the information in such a way and put it out there, because people will start to do their own thing. Give people the protocols, then, there's no guarantee that they're going to buy their stuff from you. They'll go wherever, you know what I'm saying? And then you lose that, you lose a lot of sales that way. But for me, especially, and I try to explain to people a lot in the documentary that I have out there called The Soul Craft. Like, you do actually have a soul. It is actually a real thing. There actually, like, there's actually a spiritual world. So there's a very real situation in terms of reaping what you sow out here.
Okay.
So I'm also working for the next world, the next life. What I'm doing here, I'm also, paying it forward, in a selfish way. You know what I'm saying? Not even thinking about helping everybody else, but helping myself, because you want to have a successful transition. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't think about death enough to live properly.
That's
but
good.
when you actually die,
how is that transition gonna look like for you? Yeah, that's for real.
Yeah, but you contemplate it quite. It's just, how often you think about death changes when you actually can say, nah, I actually died a little while and I decided I want to come back and hang out with y'all.
Yes, that's wild. Okay, and so I do know that you have fasts that you participate in. What is the 40-day fast?
What is the 40-day fast? So the 40-day fast, unbeknownst to all of the people that have joined the fast over the years, so the fast has grown into like a big thing. It's got to such a big thing that like bigger companies saw what I was doing and stole my idea and rebranded it. But it started out, oddly enough, with my homeboy Diallo, like, cracking jokes. So we are doing a lecture up in Chicago, and for the people that watch my channel, I've been doing a series of videos trying to incorporate more children into conscious conversation. So there's a 14-year-old that I've been dialoguing with, his dad. So me and his dad, and this is back when the 14-year-old, I don't know how old he was. He was probably like 5 or something, 6 or something like that. He was little. But now he's tall and big and he's deep, his voice is getting deep. Anyway, we out in Chicago, I think it was, doing a lecture, and we went to some vegan restaurant, and they had these cheesecakes made out of nuts, and they just had so many delicious things in there. I had like a plate of spaghetti. I had like 2 or 3 cheeseburgers. I had like 5 or 6 pies, and there was just some point where he just like banged the gavel on the table like the judge, like, yo, what is happening to you? Like, you got a tapeworm. Like, what are you doing over there? Like,
That's
you're
a lot
going
of
crazy.
food.
Yeah, and so he just kept going in on me, and he was like, bro, when you get back to Philly, you need to go on a fast. Like, you got to go on a fast for at least a month. Like, this is crazy. And I kind of like did that, but I made it a thing. You know what I'm saying? I told all the people, I was like, listen, I'm about to start this fast of 40 days based on the Bible 40-day, So I'm like, I'm about to start this 40-day fast, and then people got on it. And then I started getting on him. I'm like, yeah, well, Philly's strong. We out here, we looking crazy. So what's up? Talk to me. What Ohio ready to do?
Right.
Yeah, well, Ohio, whoop, whoop. And there was some people out there from Africa. I think it was a women's group, and they had took the idea back to Africa. And, then people started to hear the conversation, and, it became, it got competitive. Like people like New York, like, hold on, so y'all trying to say what New York is, whoop, whoop. And before you know it, we had a bunch of people on the first fast, and then we started doing them annually every June. And it got really ridiculous at some point. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it like within the first 2 or 3 years, it got really crazy. Like, we were literally, like, one of those years, we damn near fasted the entire year.
Wow.
Because every time we turned around, there would be a reason to fast. Like, oh man, somebody got a new job, we should do a 40-day fruit fast. Somebody just passed away, we should do a fast. Somebody just graduated from school, we should do a fast. Yo, holidays is coming up, we should do a fast in preparation for the holidays.
Now,
then when the holidays came, like, hey, we should fast through the holidays. Like it got really crazy.
Now, was it people that was just surrounding you, or was it like the community that were already doing the fast with you that was like, hey, I recommend to do another fast, I recommend to do another fast? Was it just like your close-knit, or was it just the community itself?
No, online. This thing had
Wow.
grew legs because I had already been teaching for so many years that people were following me for the health information anyway. So incorporating the fasting was just like, an extension of what we were already doing.
Mm-hmm.
And with us, the 40-day fruit fast wasn't like just all watermelons and mangoes. There was fruit of the earth.
Mm.
So fast still includes, herbs, vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
Nuts, grains, like all of the things that grow from the earth. It was fruit of the earth. So, no, at this point, it's probably close to 250,000 people who have done the fast with us.
Congrats. That is amazing.
But slow, like, you know what I'm saying? Just, I think the first year we had a couple thousand,
Mm-hmm.
and then more people watched us fast than actually fasted. And then people felt left out as it became a thing. And then we got a Facebook group, and it became a vibe, and then we started making shirts, and, it got crazy. And then, so as people started to feel left out, people started joining. But since it's online, people could participate anywhere. So I had people from Brazil and Germany, Japan, and Africa, and it got crazy. Like literally, people all over the world were doing it. And then people were buying my books because I put out a book on it. And then people started doing it on their own. They weren't even doing it with us,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they were doing it at their own time, on their own leisure, like hitting me up, sending me messages like, hey, Enqi, I just started the 40-day fast at my job with my coworkers, and yo, I'm in college, I'm about to run this fast for the off season, and whoop, whoop. So it grew legs. It grew legs until I started hearing like radio stations, they stole it, and we got a 40-day remix and all kinds of, like, people just, but I never, I didn't, I would have appreciated 40-day fast, but being that it was something that started in the Bible, I didn't really feel like, I didn't make a big deal out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make a big deal out of it. So, but yeah, it grew really fast. It's global. It's a global thing now. Like people, it's a thing. It's a vibe.
That's amazing. So I want to talk to you about people who say the healthy lifestyle is expensive and, them trying to eat and go that route is more expensive basically versus just going to McDonald's and picking up $1 burger. What do you have to say for those people? Because I know that you're, watching what you eat. You're a part of that healthy lifestyle, what you intake. Be careful on what you intake. For those people that come back with the feedback, well, it's just too expensive to do that. What would be your response for that?
I would say that it's like drug addict behavior.
Mm-hmm.
We always justify our addictions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody would use that. I've heard that exact thing right there. Like, I could go to McDonald's and get a burger for $1.
Right.
But what adult have you ever seen eat $1 burger?
That is true. They want a fry. They want a soda.
Right. You're going to get three. No, let me get two of them double cheeseburgers, and let me get one of them chicken sandwiches. Let me get let me get that $1 fry, and I'd probably take like a little. Give me a couple of them apple pies.
Mm-hmm.
So you in the dollar menu, but you still spending $7, $8 at the dollar menu. All right.
I see what you're saying.
That rules that out. But then you look at then when you examine your plate, right? If you like cook a home cooked meal, and you look at your plate of food, the most expensive thing on the plate of food is meat.
Mm-hmm. That's so
So
true.
even that rules itself out. The moment you take your meat off the plate, your plate drops in price almost 50%. Because the meat is the most expensive thing on it. And then, so you can easily get, like, it just makes much more sense. When you eat the grains and you can easily get the grains and even if you're doing starches, like starches are still cheaper than meat. So it just doesn't hold up to close scrutiny when you examine it. And then when you begin to factor in things like money, when I say money, I mean like, so that I'm not factoring things like money. We're already factoring in money, but factoring in things like your long-term economic situation, for instance, sick days from work, and sick days from work are nowhere near as damaging as running your own business. Because when you first start your own, like your entrepreneurial pursuits, you're usually self-employed.
True.
Right? People don't realize it. Like we just mix all that stuff into one thing. We think owning a business and being self-employed is the same thing. It's super different. Because if you own a business for real, the business runs without you. That's the major difference between being self-employed and owning a business.
That's really
like,
good.
You have managers and employees that are going to do every facet of what needs to be done without you having to be there, right? Self-employed, though, is different. Self-employed is where most people that own businesses are. And if you get sick or under the weather, your business stops.
True.
So when you take in that, and then you take in how much money you save in prevention, it really shows up in the vegan and holistic lifestyles where they say an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. It really turns into dollars. It's really more like 50 cents in prevention is better than $100 in cure, because you spend a lot less money in surgeries and medications and things like that over the course of your life. Then in quality of life, because you have you maintain your youth.
Mm-hmm.
you can still play basketball with your children. Like I know guys that are like my best friend died from a heart attack.
Wow. Sorry about that. Wow.
At 40, my best friend died from a heart attack. And when I say best friend, he was with me through my whole transition, different stages of my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and helped me put the stickers on my first few bottles of herbs, and like he was there with me the whole time.
Right.
So I was filling him with all of the information more than anybody else. I was like, bro, what are you doing? You can't eat that next to me. Somebody might even see us out together. Like, you cannot eat that while you're standing next to me. Like, that cannot happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, I used to be on them crazy about that. Pause. You know what I'm saying? But,
Mm-hmm.
he just was like, yo, when I'm ready, I'll make the changes and whoop, whoop, whoop. Before even Desmond, I had another homeboy. His name was Vic. Vic died at 30. And the craziest thing about Vic passing away was it affected me, different than a lot of other people. There were people in the neighborhood that were a lot closer to Vic than me, but it affected me different because my Uncle Willie, right? He was like 60 in his 60s, but he was still super muscular and going to the gym all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to take me with him to the gym. My teenage years going to the gym with to go to the gym with Willie. Now, Chris and Vic used to be sitting behind my building. They blowing something down and they got the beer cracked, and they see me walking out to go to the gym with Willie. They used to make jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, yo, what you go to the gym for? Niggas don't fight no more. They shoot. You know what I mean? Nobody don't need to. So they used to harass me like that for going to the gym with Willie.
Mm-hmm.
It just affected me when Vic passed away because he actually went behind the building to the schoolyard, 151 at the time. I think they renamed the school. But he went behind the building to play basketball one-on-one with his dad, who was twice his age. His dad was twice his age, and they out there in the sun playing basketball, and the sun was literally too much for Vic, and he fell dead on the spot.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
things
sad.
like that, also, it's not just like people listening like, oh, well, his situation, his daughter and stuff like that. It's people around me
Mm-hmm.
that provided inspiration for me early on, and then continuing inspiration as I continue to still see, just preventable things affect loved ones. That's probably one of the toughest things. Like I tell people that all the time. The toughest thing you have to do if you really want to be a holistic healer is get comfortable with watching people you love die from easily preventable stuff.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah.
Because everybody's not going to take your advice. Even though you're a specialist and you know what you're doing, everybody's just not going to accept that advice. Or they're going to do it on their own time, and it may be too late.
Correct, Mundo.
Wow. Okay. And so I did see an episode. I don't know. I was just looking up some stuff, right? And then you mentioned something about intimately knowing who you are. What are some steps where you can just sit down? And I know you mentioned something about meditation, but you were like, you really have to know who you are. And then it begins those steps of, healing, knowing, your ancestors and God and things of that nature. What are some steps to start that process first of getting to know who you are as a person, intimately?
Wow, you got some really good questions.
Thank you.
I don't know. No, I'm gonna tell you. I really don't know because, like I said, I was groomed to be this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was born, I had a certain type of, people were around me, a certain type of people around me teaching me, like, for a child, really outlandish and crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? So all of the stuff that people learn now, like as adults in the conscious, quote unquote, woke community.
Right.
Just imagine like trying to teach this to a baby that's 6 months old or 1 year old. Like that's me.
Mm-hmm.
So later on, I'm kind of putting things together, and even the things that are brand new insights or discoveries of mine are based on years and years and years of work, even before I knew that later on these things would be relevant. Because as a teenager, or even in my 20s, like, I was like a monster. There's no way that you would think that I would be a person that would be healing people like this. This was unforeseeable, to say the least. So, to go back, and now you hear them argue about the LOL dollhouse. Man.
That's too funny. It's too cute.
Nice. I would say find some facet of study that you're passionate about, because what you're passionate about, what you enjoy, you'll be able to do longer, because it's all going to be rigorous. So for me to tell John Q. Public to start studying biochemistry when they may not even have a good mental endurance, they may not even have a strong enough mental endurance to read and study like that. You know what I mean? It's going to defeat the purpose. They'll probably do it for a few minutes, put the book down, never turn back. Or to tell somebody to study their history, get into their near history, study like American history, and then, go abroad and study Caribbean and African history and global economics. That just may not suit them. You know what I'm saying? So I would say start with harassing your family. That's a good place to start. Right.
Okay.
Just in general, you know what I'm saying? To get to know yourself, like start harassing your family before you start talking crazy. Because I hear a lot of people, especially in the pro-black, conscious, woke paradigm, they talk crazy. And they don't know that just maybe 2 generations before them, they may have a bunch of white folks in their family. You know what I'm saying? Or may have a bunch of Spanish folks, or Germans, or whatever in your family, and you just like, So I would say start to talk to people and get into the living books before you go anywhere else. Get into the living books. So your mom, your dad, like sit them down and like interrogate them. Don't ask them questions, like interrogate them. You know what I'm saying? Like get it all out of them. You know what I'm saying? Everything, even stuff you don't think is important. I learned more about my dad after he passed away than probably all his life when he was alive. So interrogate your family members. You know what I'm saying? And then, to go back to the oldest ones alive. If you got grandparents, if you're lucky enough to still have grandparents, interrogate them while you have them. You know what I'm saying?
I wish I would have done that.
Right. If you're blessed and you've got great grandparents alive,
yeah,
it should be like literally, like soon as you hear what I'm saying, after this is finished, get a notebook, call them, go to their house, whatever, and start to interrogate them right now. Don't waste a minute.
Yeah.
Because if you have great grandparents, they could go tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like they could be
so
going
true.
tonight. They can go to sleep and just not wake up.
Yeah. True.
But find the oldest family members and work your way backwards down to the youngest, all the way to the people around you. Even people that's your age, you'd be surprised what they know. Like my little sister, when I was really in the heat of interrogating my family to figure out what they know, because people are living books. My little sister Michelle, she was like, "Oh, I didn't know you was into whatever." Let me tell you what I found out when I was digging. She found out that a part of our family invented stripe beer. I think that's what it's the stripe beer, like in Jamaica, it's real big.
Yeah, it has the red logo, red and white logo.
Yes. Yeah. And then my brother, he was like, "Yeah, we got some family members that was tied into like founding Duke University, some other stuff." So you start poking around, you'll figure out you got some white folks, some red folks, some yellow folks, some all kinds of folks mixed in. You got folks that were probably, like people that don't want to, you don't want to remember the people who are part of your family.
Right.
Then you got some people that there's some really amazing stuff that you want to, be proud of. But all of that will give you a good living picture of who you are. Then you can start to go within and really process a lot of that information. And as you examine your biochemistry, you'll probably be able to understand more about your personality from the picture you get from the living history and your internal now. Your internal now is always changing moment to moment, but that's the biochemical aspect of yourself. And then, I would say, yeah, go. That's a pretty good, place to start. That'd be easy because if you learn about the different aspects, like your living history, that probably rile you up to learn a little bit more of the more sciencey aspects of yourself.
Okay, I like that. You got me thinking. Or things I should have done while my grandparents were alive. Like maybe I'll probably reach out to their brothers and sisters now as like an alternative.
Everybody. I found out I got NFL players in my family, all kind of stuff. You start searching. This doesn't mean that they're gonna mess with you. You know what I'm saying? They might not do it with you. They show up at the crib like, Unc, let me hold $5. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
But it'll tell you a lot more about you, and then you'll have, like I said, my mind has always been about my children. You know what I'm saying? So you'll have more to pass them down because then you can share all this information with them. Like, listen, no, this is what you have in your family. You don't have to tell them the fake old pro-black story. Like you hear, we come from kings and queens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a real quick response.
No, that's a lie. That's pure made up baloney. All black people do not come from kings and queens. Like any of our great societies, when we go back to those societies, there was like a few people that were in the, quote unquote aristocracy, but 90% of the people were common folks just like today. So what if you traced your family lineage back to Egypt, but whoever your family member was, they were like a bum? Or they were like the library guy, or they worked at the grocery store, or wherever. Like they didn't. Just because you're black doesn't mean your family members were pharaohs. Or like that's crazy.
That's so real though, because that's what we see on social media is that. But when you think about it in those terms, that's so real. You don't know what type of position that family member had at that time.
You don't know what your family member did back in the days. You know what I'm saying? And for some of us, you know what I'm saying, it may very well be true. You may have a pharaoh or a king or an emperor in your family line, but you may also have some murderers and some rapists and some maniacs back there too.
That's
you know what I mean?
Wild.
So it's the numbers on your bloodline get very crazy very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So figure right before you have two people, your mom and your dad. But right above them, they each have a mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
So once you go back two slots, you're looking at 6 people. And then when you go back, since now we're dealing with 4 people, like your parents' parents, then those people have parents' parents. So the numbers start to get crazy. So you go from 2 to next, after that it's 4, and then before that it's 8, then after that it's 16. So now you add 16 and 8, that's 24. Then you add another 4, that's 28. Then you add the other 2, that's 30. So just in 4 skips, you got 30 people. You know what I'm saying? And that's not counting their sisters, brothers, and cousins. That's just parents of parents of parents.
Right.
Our DNA and our bloodlines are a lot more exciting than we would care to think. So, it's a lot of information there, a lot of stories, and information is really all that life is about.
True.
This is why our ancestors in all of our ancient texts always told us that life is light and light is life, because that's really all this is. That's why we're here. to create more information and more genetic diversity, which is the reason why science is, panicking right now, because we're losing genetic diversity. But we're losing genetic diversity because of the synthetic environment that we've created for ourselves to enjoy life more. So going back to what I was saying earlier about being a parent, sometimes you have to make decisions for your child to make them temporarily uncomfortable so they could be more comfortable long term. Well, as a people, we've created a synthetically super hyper comfortable situation for ourselves. Like the temperature is the same year round. Like we're technically in a synthetically controlled environment where the temperature is around 70 degrees all the time because we have ACs, heaters, jackets, sweaters. We no longer get natural light on our bodies. 99% of the light that we get is from synthetic light bulbs, and like the water comes out of plastic bottles. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Even when people are talking about waters, like I don't even talk, like a lot of my name is Enqi. Like people know what that means, So a lot of what I used to teach people early on was based around water because your body is mainly water.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't even talk so much about water anymore because people just won't understand. There's a huge difference between bottled water of any sort and natural water, which is what life sprang from and began around.
Mm-hmm.
Natural water contains bacteria. It contains living organisms. Like this like living water is way different than anything you can get in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And so now people think they've become aware of something because they watch 2 or 3 videos. So they're like, well, hold on. What's the pH of that water?
Right.
And crazy. And pH is now driving people to pay $6 for, like bottled water. And it's like, bro, but what does that mean? What's
Mm-hmm.
the pH? That's not the end of the story. They've created machines like Keynesian machines and all this foolishness that creates synthetically high pH. Natural water with a high pH is based on the mineral and bicarbonate content.
Mm.
It's not based on like splitting water molecules in half and adding weird solutions. And it's like, that's not natural water, So, I don't even, like, people are just so crazy nowadays. There's so much to cover. So much.
All right, so the next segment, this is basically you just giving us some experiences from your life. And so the first half is what is something that you feel like you can brag about as far as your career, anything that you researched and it came out good, you helping out your kids with their, healing, anything high for Dr. Enqi, anything that you'll be like, yes, that was amazing. I can't believe, I did my research. It came out on top. Anything like that. Anything as far as a high.
I think probably the highest of highs was Amber.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I think that was the highest of highs because when she had the accident, I was working at Verizon. Like I was literally in the store working. And her mom and her mom's family, they were kind of scared to call me because they knew I was going to be mad. And so I could get to the hospital. I was probably a hair away from being like arrested in the hospital because I was going off on the doctors. So eventually I raised so much hell in the hospital that they told me, they was like, well, there's the best doctor in Northeast America is not far. He's at Columbia or Columbus, and that's like on Broadway in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And his Dr. Lee, we can get you guys over there on the next, as soon as she's, stabilized, whatever, we can get you guys over there. And so that was probably the best situation in terms of, like, I got a bunch of moments, you know what I mean? I'm constantly trying to discover something new. I feel like we had so many geniuses like Dr. Sabi and so many others already that I like to bring new things to the table instead of like memorizing and regurgitating, some other stuff.
Gotcha.
But in that situation, it was so crazy because my wife flipped on me immediately because the doctors were complaining in the ICU. When she first got to the hospital, she was in the ICU, intensive care unit, and the doctors were complaining because I was like bodyguarding her, and like I was limiting what they were doing, and everything they were coming to do, they had to talk to me for at least 20. Like I was grilling them with everything. Whoa, what's that needle?
And that's
what
needed.
You doing right?
Yeah, I think that's needed. Yeah.
Yeah, I was on them. What you putting in her? Yeah. What you taking out of her? Yeah. What is that? Why is that? Who approved that? Are you the doctor? You're not the doctor. You're the nurse or you're the intern? Where is the doctor? Why? Let him tell me and explain. Like I was just in beast mode in there.
Yeah.
And so eventually, though, after I had created the Momatomics, the Swatch Momatomics, which is probably my most popular herbal compound to date, and I started dropping it in her mouth, they start coming to take blood even more. And so at one point I just stopped them, was like, bro, you can't take no more blood. You just took blood. Like, y'all taking blood too fast now. What's happening? So I go down to Dr. Lee's office, and his doctor's like on both sides of me. And Dr. Lee is asking me all these questions, and like, why am I not allowing them to take the blood? And I'm explaining this and that and the other. And what is it that I'm dripping in her mouth? Because I'm not thinking, but everybody's watching me. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking I'm on the low. You know what I'm saying? I'm just giving her the little drops of liquid. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking I'm on the low. They see, they got the cameras in there and all that. So they ask me like, what is that I'm doing and all this kind of stuff. So, I realized in that room that I was teaching the number one doctor in the Northeast region of America for children's trauma. Like, I'm teaching him. Wow. And there were other doctors in the room up underneath him, and they're all taking notes. Like, I'm in there doing a lecture. This is way before I had ever done a lecture. And I'm like, these are the best of the best in terms of children's, trauma that America has to offer. And here they are. They got pens and paper out. They're studying me, the guy from 158th Street. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was probably a moment for me. And then to see how, like, she turned out, like when we were checking out the hospital, they was just, yo, you got to keep coming back. They wanted me to keep coming back to like give them more updates and information and what I was doing and protocol stuff and all that. Like, they wanted me to keep coming back, sharing with them. But I was like, nah, you niggas ain't paying me.
Right. I'm gonna need a little something in my pocket if y'all gonna ask for this time. Yeah.
Man, plus at the time I was nervous. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, you got that natural aversion to doctors. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I ain't really chilling up in no hospital. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, asking me for information to use against me or to help other people. Or I don't know what their agenda is. You know what I'm saying? So,
true.
But that was a moment for me. I also had another moment in Ohio. I had a lecture coming up at one of the colleges in Ohio. I know it wasn't Cleveland. I think it was I know it wasn't Cleveland University. It was another big university there. And I was doing like some radio promo leading up to the lecture, and I gave my number out, and a guy called me up and said he had congestive heart failure real bad, and the doctors were saying they don't think he's gonna make it, a couple months, and so like he was, like, I guess he thought he was saying something good, but he didn't realize that he was kind of like insulting me a little bit. He was like, yeah, so I had no choice but to turn to you guys online, try to.
Right.
So he was like, what would you suggest, in my situation with congestive heart failure? And I had talked to him probably about an hour to 2 hours. I didn't charge him anything for the consultation. And I said, based on how he was living and what was going on with him, I said, I don't even think that you really have that much of a heart problem. And he was like, see, you know what? My wife warned me about you guys and woo, 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 woo. And so I was like, no. Before you go away, listen, let me explain something to you. And I started telling him about like how selenium and magnesium work in the heart. Mm-hmm. And I was telling him that I think that he probably is just really not getting enough magnesium in his diet. And he asked me if I had something for it. I explained to him I had some herbs, some herbal stuff that was really high in magnesium. And he was like, all right, well, I'm going to try to make it to the event. I'm really having money problems because I had to leave my job. And then we put up a lot of money for medicine, surgeries, and all this, like hospital stuff. He didn't say exactly what, but he said hospital stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, don't worry about it. You don't even got to come to the lecture. Just come meet me outside the lecture. I'll hook you up. And so he came, and I gave him 2 bottles of herbs, and he left. He never even stayed for the lecture. He didn't have no money to pay for the consultation or for the herbs. He left, and that was it. I didn't see him again. Like maybe 8 months later, he called me up sounding super strong and like just excited. And he was like, yo, I want to send you some money, for the herbs beautiful. And consultation or whatever. It was amazing. Me and my wife was doing it again and all this kind of stuff. So that was a good one. That was a good one.
That's
like, it's a bunch of, like, there's a couple of sisters that couldn't get pregnant that I helped have babies, and you know what I'm saying, they got the, like, I guess, I don't know, it's a bunch of stuff, but I think probably the Amber thing was probably the biggest one, because that one was like a turning point for me, where I really realized that it was possible for a young guy from 158th Street in the Bronx to really, have some information maybe that even the best of the best and trained, they didn't have, they weren't aware of.
Wow. Okay, so that being stated, and congrats, those are all great stories, by the way. On the flip side, as you know, everybody goes through their lows in life where it questions, your gifts that you feel like that you were blessed with. Should I really go this route? And, you went that route and it went terribly wrong. What were some lows that you have gone through? And then how did you push through those lows to continue to say, this is still my gift. I still have to help other people out. I still need to, share these resources and teach people.
Ooh, man. Being part of the conscious woke community, I noticed that everybody was like talking about economics, but for the most part, I just seen people like just ripping people off and putting money in their own pocket. So I had some brothers contact me from North Carolina that had a spring, as I'm out teaching about water. Like, yo, we got a spring and we tested it. It's amazing. Like, it's really high in minerals and some natural compounds that, we think would be really beneficial, but we don't really interface with people that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're out there. So what can we do together to get this, to create something for the people? Mm-hmm. Man, I offered that thing to people in my Facebook group and started promoting it and just opened it up to the public. I'm like, man, Black folks, we're going to do something together. Black folks, here we come.
Right.
And we got one brother who just like totally sabotaged the whole thing. He went down behind my back to try to buy the water from the people directly for himself with some company he was representing. When that didn't work, he without anybody knowing in the group, he went and trademarked all of the material that we created, the name of the water business. Like, he just went and trademarked everything by himself. Not and then sent the cease and desist letter.
Not cool at all. That's crazy.
Me a cease and desist letter. which was which was crazy, and then it created a rift with people because people was like, "Yo, if we're not going to do the water business, I want to get my little investment back." I opened it up to anybody, so there was people that invested anywhere from $25 to $100. You know what I'm saying? Some people wanted to invest big sums of money, but I kind of got nervous. So I turned a lot of people down. It was one guy that was like, "Yo, I want to invest $1,000 into it," whatever the case may be. And I kind of pushed him off for a while. But then, after a while, I just was like, "All right, you know what? I'm going to accept it." You know what I'm saying? Let me stop being so nervous of my own people.
Mm-hmm.
And I took his money, but that nervousness helped me because I never spent his money. I just sat it to the side. You know what I'm saying? Because it was weird for somebody that I didn't know to want to invest that much to the water business. But anyway, come to find out, that guy was the guy who sabotaged it. They were like partners.
That is too much. That's crazy.
And I didn't find that out till I got the cease and desist papers because it had the other guy's name on it. I said, "What the hell is this?" So I sent him back his money and just moved on from there. But I learned, like, there's a reason why a lot of times when Black people, they come up and they find themselves in better positions, there's a reason why sometimes that they don't turn around and look to do business with people where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
Tough, because usually those are the people that try to set you up, or people will try to mingle into those people and set you up from within, what you would consider to be your base organization. You know what I'm saying? So I learned from that situation, and that situation still haunts me because we live in an electronic world. So even when somebody slanders you, like, it doesn't completely delete. You can explain the situation a zillion times and people will listen and hear you and be like, "Oh, okay, we get it. We understand what happened." But it still floats around out there. And then sometimes the stories morph and become larger than life. You know what I'm saying? And they become, they add to the telephone game.
Mm-hmm.
When you to a person, by the time it comes out the other end, it gets even crazier.
Right.
But yeah, that I quickly kind of like moved past that because most of the people, like, everybody kind of watched that situation. At least the people close.
Mm-hmm.
They were open Facebook groups, so they saw all the things that was transpiring. So like the people, like, I still have the water and all that kind of stuff. The trademarking thing, which was funny because they went through so much trouble to do the trademark, and all that. They didn't get anything but an empty title because those were my friends with the water, so they wouldn't sell them the water behind my back. So we still have the spring, and that's a water. That spring has been in my guy's family for like 500 years.
Wow.
So they're not selling the property. We still have the water, and whatever the case may be. So sometimes I think about revamping and going back into that business eventually. But I just learned a big lesson from trying to openly just open up to the community. Like, "Hey, come on, community, we getting ready to do a community thing. Let's get it."
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't. It's just gonna hurt you. People are gonna hurt you.
That's so unfortunate. Yeah. All right. And so next, the next segment is free advice, but you have been dropping knowledge this whole entire conversation. And so do you have any other free advice that you may want to give somebody that wants to be a herbalist or maybe want to be a biochemist? Do you have any free advice for them?
Don't want to be a herbalist.
Why would you say that?
Like, because if it's in you, it's in you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I think you should do whatever's in you, even if it's something crazy. Like, if you just want to be a fighter pilot, like a fighter plane pilot. You know what I'm saying? Like, go do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we see somebody doing something and the person that's doing it looks really cool doing it. So we want to also do that.
Yes.
But it's not because, and we don't really know how to distinguish, but it's not really because we're in love with the thing that they're doing. We're just really in love with the attention that they're getting from what it is that they're doing and how easy and fun it looks like, it is that they're doing. But you don't know what's happening behind the camera. You don't know the stress, the strife, the years they put in, the money, the time. So, and most times that's the main thing that is the barrier between people that will be successful in the given field and not.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really have the love for what it is that you're doing? That's going to beat every obstacle. So you see people on the tail end, when they start to get popular, they've already pretty much beat a lot of the stuff that's going to put 90% of the people on their backside.
Mm-hmm.
But like transitioning from having an $80,000 a year job with 6 children to having your own business in an area that's not classified. And when I say not classified, like it's not something that's corporately structured, so you can go out there and there are marketing blueprints and sales blueprints for what it is that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost all of what I do is brand new territory. So I'm the first mold. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it's tough to sit down with maybe like a marketing team or PR person or whatever and be able to say, all right, well, this is what we're trying to do. And I'm like, wait, what do you have? What do you do? Like, how do we package this? You know what I mean? So, transitioning from having $80,000 a year job and children to having no guaranteed income, like no guaranteed income, like you literally, like you damn near back on the block. You know what I mean? Like you don't know what's coming in. Like it's difficult.
Yeah.
You don't love it, you're not going to be able to deal with the hardship, especially if your partner is not on the same page. It's going to be a nightmare. I don't even know how I made it through. You know what I mean? It was divine order. You know what I mean? So if you don't love it, if it's not something that you've always loved, I wouldn't say to jump in there. I would say do what it is that you always loved, and then you'll be able to look swaggy over there. You know what I'm saying? So, like right now, people see me do a lot of things with KT, the art degree. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's Mama Pill's son, raised by Sabi. Mama Pill was Sabi's wife, best friend, student, etc. So even with him, you know what I'm saying? I tell him, like we kind of ruined this thing for a lot of people because they're watching us and they think this is like they can watch like a couple months or a couple weeks worth of YouTube videos and then they're ready to go.
Right.
But we laugh all the time. Like this is literally something we've been doing since we've been born.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's difficult to he's a couple years younger than me. He's in his late 30s. I'm 40 already.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way you're getting ready to watch a few videos and then catch up to me. Like you got 40 years worth of books, buddy. You got 36, 37 years worth of study to catch up to KT. Like it's just, it's going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If you love it, then by all means, we need more healers in the world.
Right.
No, but you need to love it though, because a lot of times your opposition is going to be the rest of the planet.
Alrighty, and so with that being stated, as far as you making sure that you love to do, and then go ahead and invest into it. What about the people that are still in that process of just trying to still figure it out? You think they should just still do more research first and then jump into it? Or, just go for it and then see if you like it. And if you don't like it, stop and do something different.
Follow your heart.
Okay. All right. And so as far as... Go ahead.
Not only will you have the endurance to get through what you need to get through, but you'll be able to live with the results, whatever they are. If you don't follow your heart, no matter what the results are, you may still be unsatisfied later on. So you have a lot of people that are monetarily successful, but they're unhappy because they're doing something that they're not happy with. They didn't follow their heart. Then you have people that try something out and they fail, right? But they're also unhappy, and not unhappy because they failed. They're unhappy because a little voice in the back of their mind told them they should have did something else. So always following your heart. Because if you follow your heart and you fail, or it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to be, you will have enjoyed the journey so much that it's still a success.
I like it. Okay. And so I know you got... Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying there's 1,000 different reasons why following your heart just works out better than ignoring your intuition.
Gotcha. Okay. And so I know you got a lot of upcoming events that's happening. You have a tour, you got Soulcraft, and I also heard that you're going to be a part of the Dr. Sabine documentary with Nick Cannon. Can you talk about some of the upcoming things that we can look out for you?
You probably you covered it good. I'll be in Philadelphia on the 25th.
Okay.
Yeah. So shout out Philly. Philly's like my second home. They really championed me and everything that I was trying to present. Like literally, one of my friends in Philly, his name is Sheen. Like when I got to Philly, he literally took his coat off and gave it to me.
That's so nice.
Like literally coat off the back. Like Philly is a different group of people.
That's a good friend.
Like a Yankee jacket. And I just did a lecture and he loved it. And he was like, yo, you should be rocking this jacket right here. Like Sheem is a super strong, like I have a strong personality. Sheem got a super strong personality. Mm-hmm. He literally took his jacket off and was like, yo, you should, this is how I want to see you. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yeah, Philly's a different place. Like these people up here, they were really like, it's a different type of energy in Philly. But anyway, I'll be in Philly the 25th. So what's that? 11, 12 days. Mm-hmm. Going in. The documentary. I know Nick has a whole team working on it, but it's a really, really complicated piece to try to put a documentary together on somebody of Dr. Sabi's stature.
Right.
Especially with his extended, his extended and extensive family. You know what I mean? So it gets crazy. So many different perspectives and stories to be told on a man, who's lived so much of life. So I'm saying that to say, who knows when the trailer will be ready? You know what I mean? And then there's so many people he touched that there are people contacting Nick that want to add a little piece, all the way up to, Hollywood stars and, presidents even. Like it's really crazy how many people he was able to touch. Mm-hmm. So, but that's going to come when it's ready, and outside that, I'm just working on really being able to reach more people. I really haven't even been able to be honest, I haven't even really been able to focus since the Soulcraft documentary came out. Mm-hmm. Because I've been doing magazine articles and interviews. Like there's so many people. Like I feel like I have 1 million views on those videos already because so many people have been personally, when you watch those videos, it's like a paradigm shift happens immediately.
So true.
Literally, the Soulcraft documentary is the type, and the forward to the Soulcraft is what starts the madness. So people, they have to watch the forward. When you have a book, people skip the forward. You know what I'm saying? But video world, you need to watch the forward. But it's one of those things that you can divide your life to. Like your life before you saw that documentary and then your life every moment thereafter. It's really that impactful. So, for the last month or so, it's really just been magazines and radios and blogs and YouTube channels, and just and so it's cool. You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate the vibes. I try to repost a lot of the interviews and stuff like that on my page so that my audience will hear. But it is crazy. So, but yeah, so that's it. I'm just preparing to go back out onto the road. Shout out to Knowledge. We've been putting together a tour. And then going back to Mama Pill, we were just on the phone, me, her, and KT, and she's ready to get back on the road. KT and I have a weekly series that we're doing, that we're looking to. We're hoping it gets picked up, goes to like a larger network, but it's called the Other Guys Universal Network. The Other Guys Universal Network is a show that we're doing every Tuesday. Every other week it's on his channel, and every other week it's on my channel. So we're sharing it between both our platforms. But it's really about bringing the light to the holistic culture that we feel like it deserves and that it hasn't been getting. So that's going really well. We got a really good list of interviews coming up. So far, we've done Mr. G. Mr. G was the person Dr. Sebi hand selected with the time capsule of his life. He's the co-producer of the documentary with Nick Cannon. He was the co-producer, if not sole producer, of Dr. Sebi's actual last tour in America.
Wow.
But yeah, so you know, it's been a nice ride. We got some fun stuff coming up, so you know, people need to make sure they subscribe to my page, KT page, so they can see catch all the episodes. I think we're at episode number 3 or number 4 is coming up tomorrow. Right, number 4 is coming up tomorrow, and we're actually interviewing Mama Pill, so that's going to be a good one. Depending on what she decides to share with the people, you know what I mean? She's got so much, and then there's so much that she knows that we just tell her, like, yo, you know what, that might not be, the people might not be ready for that. Right. You know what I'm saying? We should hold back that story right there. That's a little crazy. So depending on what she wants to share, it's always mind blowing. Yeah, and people can come check me out on my IG page at Dr. Enqi, on my YouTube page at Dr. Enqi. My number 833-777-6543. They can hit me up.
Do you have a website? You want to let them know the website? What's the exact name for your YouTube channel? Let them know how to get in touch with you.
Yep. You can go to the YouTube. It's DR space ENQI, right? That's Dr. Enqi on YouTube, and there's no space on Instagram, right? Just DRENQI. And then the website is UnitedPlatesOfAmerica.org. UnitedPlatesOfAmerica.org. And plates is spelled PLATES, like plates that you eat off. UnitedPlatesOfAmerica.org.
All right. And so we are at the end of the interview. It's called My Motivational Moment. This is either maybe a Bible scripture, a quote, anything of that nature that made me go back and look at it because it really resonated with me. And maybe it just, helped me out to get through something I was going through currently at that moment. And so with this motivational moment, I really felt like it would tie in on our conversation today. And it's a quote. It says, "To keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep your mind strong and clear." And that's by Buddha. I'll go ahead and repeat it. To keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep our mind strong and clear. And so with the motivational moment, what I usually do is say, how it affected me. And then from there, you can say how you feel about it. Okay?
Right. Where did you get that quote from?
Like I mentioned, sometimes I'll just scroll through social media or, I'll maybe put, like inspiring quotes. Like I'll just look up different things certain times. And then for that one, I think it was just on Google. I think I was looking at like healthy quotes, healthy lifestyle quotes, and then that's the one out of all of them. I was like, okay, that's pretty deep. So that's the one I chose.
Yeah, I like that. It's layers to it.
Yes. And I feel like for me, when I first read it, I thought about the whole thing with the good health is a duty. It's not easy to live that healthy lifestyle. Some people feel like, oh, okay, this is a new diet. Let me try it out. Maybe that diet is not good for you.
It's not necessarily not easy. It's just not easy to switch.
Yes.
But once it's your regular life, it's just as easy as what it is that you do already. The hard part is just breaking all of the addictions that you have and changing or recreating and just rebranding your actual life every day. You know what I'm saying? Changing what's in your refrigerator, changing what's in your cabinets. So it's easier if you live alone or you're the only adult in the house, because in that situation, you don't have to compete with what goes in the fridge. So at the moment you get swaggy with your shopping, you learn which supermarkets to go to buy this, which supermarkets to go to buy that. Like I use like 3 different supermarkets. And not only that, then there's like little, wherever I can find like a farmer's market or some fresh produce in between. But there's a variety of supermarkets you can go to, because some of them are going to be more expensive than others. Some of them won't have these items, and then it gets crazy with the shopping. But once you get that once you become a part of the new culture, then it's easy. Mm-hmm. It's only difficult, trust me, because people don't know. But like, for instance, people that buy clothes, they know where to get their shoes from. They go all the way downtown or uptown, or they order from this place online. Like, yeah, because I like my, like they know where to get their shoes. They know where to get, oh, no, hold on. This outfit is signature. It's only limited edition. I got to go over here and get this. And it's the same with the food. It's just, you just don't know. Mm-hmm. So once you get in the culture, it's good. But going back to the saying, I like the saying because people used to ask me all the time, why don't I speak on mental health more?
Right.
And I used to tell them all the time, it's because you don't know any better. You don't think I'm speaking on mental health. But I'm always speaking on mental health. They said, how could that be? I said, because your mental health in most cases is a byproduct of your neurochemistry. Mm. Your neurochemistry is based solely on your diet.
That's good. Okay.
So if you don't eat properly, it's impossible for you to have a balanced neurochemistry. And if that's the case, it's impossible for your brain to function. So a lot of times, when parents hit me up and be like, my child's wilding in school, I'm like, maybe you're wilding in school because you're wilding in the kitchen. What you giving them for breakfast? Mm. You're giving them like sugary pastries or, cereal and, cow's milk or whatever. It's going to be impossible for them to behave themselves the first 4 hours of school.
Mm. Oh, you got me thinking. That's good. That's really good. Well, this is the ending for this episode. Before we end it, I do want to shout out to Knowledge. Knowledge Born Allah. He's with Do the Knowledge Radio. Shout out to him because he did put this interview together. And I do want to thank Dr. Enqi for giving me your time and all of the knowledge that you gave me today and all the listeners. So thank you, thank you. Is there anything that you want to end the interview with? Any good words? Anything that you feel like you probably left out?
Love people. Love people and love yourself.
Nice. All right.
Loving yourself takes care of a lot of things that most people think they got to study and learn. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Takes care of a lot of different things. So loving people, loving yourself, that's the way to go.
All right. Well, this is Brianna Javon with Dr. Enqi with another episode of What's Good Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and have a great night, day, wherever you're listening at the time for this podcast. Have a great one. Hey guys, for more updates, you can follow me on Instagram at whatsgood_podcast or my personal account b.javon_. Javon is spelled JOVAHN. You can catch me on Twitter, whatsgood_pod, C for Charlie. And then you can also catch me on Facebook at What's Good Podcast. Make sure that you subscribe and also leave reviews for me to also see, and I can also respond back to you guys. Let me know what you're thinking of the podcast and any updates. Thank you. Have a good one.